morning, Juan.
Good morning, Miss Nancy.
How are you?
I think I'm good.
My name is Nancy, Central Florida Realtor, selling more than 50 homes per year.
And I am Juan Castro, also Redfin Central Florida Realtor, and I've sold a little over 700 homes.
Nice.
So
tell me, you had a big day yesterday.
yesterday was my son Miles's birthday, so he turned 21 yesterday.
Awesome.
Yesterday was a great day.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a very good day.
What are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about when a seller wants to sell. What does that process look like? How do we disclose the process to them? What's our product that we use to capture the buyer? And who are the people? Who is Nancy? And who is Juan? Have we done this before? Have we sold any houses before?
A few.
So we've sold a couple. You'd be surprised though what we come across.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want someone to practice on yours. You want them to practice on someone else's.
Right.
So you definitely want an expert when you're going to list your house.
And you're
for
definitely
sale.
the expert.
I have learned from some really good people.
Yeah.
My mentor was quite outstanding.
Andy,
Andy.
who's still not here with us.
He's still not here. Thank God he's not here. He's quite better than me. But Andy was a very big proponent of learning a process and implementing that process, and I just kind of emulate that.
Right.
So
let's say can I play the customer?
you can play the customer.
All right, so I'm a customer and I call you up and I say, Juan, I have a house I want to sell. Would you be able to come over?
Sure.
And take a look at my property?
Absolutely.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much they say they want to put the house for sale. They're not sure what the next step might be.
Right.
Usually the proper next step is for me to do some basic research on their house.
So I'm going to give you my address. And
Give
say
me
I
your-
live at 123 Main Street.
123 Main Street. If there's any recent improvements you might have done, just so I know what to look for, roof,
Yeah.
AC,
So-
water heater.
Yeah,
Things
all
like
the
that.
things. So my roof is about 3 years old. My hot water heater we just replaced last summer. And what was the other item?
Roof, water heater,
Oh,
AC.
HVAC, I think is about 6 years old.
Okay.
So
So that's all right in the middle.
yeah,
No red flags there. No difficulty with insurance traditionally there.
right.
So what we would do then, what I would do is I would go into public records. First, make sure I'm talking to the seller.
Right, because that happens. There's a lot of scammers out there that
Yeah.
want to sell somebody else's
Make
house.
sure I'm talking to the actual seller. If I'm not, I could be talking to a family member or a representative of the seller.
Right.
I just need to confirm who I'm
And
talking
sometimes
to.
only the husband is on the deed for whatever reason and the wife calls you
Yeah.
and that's okay.
And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is do my market research, and we'll go in detail. What does that look like? I like to look at the public record, permits.
So when you look at public records, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at the
specifically?
subject itself,
Okay.
bedroom, bathroom, size, construction style, any type of things that were added to the house. Sometimes there'll be some pretty unique things in there. Sometimes you'll find a house that's a little bit older perhaps, and it says it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but the seller tells you it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath because
Right.
they enclosed the carport or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's when our next step is to always reconcile what the building record says versus what the permits say. If there's no permit for the enclosure of the garage, the appraiser does not consider that air-conditioned footage.
Right.
So we want to be able to teach correctly to the seller to predict the future.
Yeah.
So we look at that record. Normally it takes me about 15 minutes to pull that data. I gather that together. But meanwhile, what I've told the seller was, what is a good day and time for me to come by, experience the house,
Right.
and reconcile what I believe to things that I did not know, and give you an idea, a box of where I believe the house will fall in pricing given the current market.
Right.
So
So Saturday at noon, does that work for you?
Saturday at noon is perfect, takes about an hour and a half.
Okay.
We'll sit together, we'll go through everything, I'll provide you with a full report. I'll explain to you why I think it'll happen, how long it might take, what I think your check would look like, why it will look like that, and then I will leave and allow you some time to absorb what I've been able to experience with you, answer any questions you might have. The big thing for us as listing agents when we do listings is our goal is very simple: sell the seller's house.
For the most amount of money with the least amount of stress.
Yes, so we have to predict the future.
Right.
It's a little hard sometimes,
Yeah.
but
I am definitely missing my crystal ball.
but the data
The data doesn't
the
lie.
data will get you close.
Yeah.
The data will get you pretty close. You know, barring something significant happen in the marketplace, rates go up, rates go down.
Right.
That could move the pendulum a little bit. But we have the appointment scheduled. I've pulled the public record. I've pulled the data that I need to reconcile. Now what I will do is I will go into the MLS or the public record and look for comparables that are similar to the subject house.
Right.
Right now, usually within about a half a mile, if not the neighborhood.
I love, if I can do the neighborhood, I love it. It's not always possible.
It's not always possible. Sometimes there's only one sale in that
Right.
community for 4.5, 5 months. So ideally, the neighborhood, that's the island that they live in.
Right.
If you push out half a mile, usually never more than pretty much a mile, unless you're going
Yeah,
rural. That's pretty
right.
far. And the appraiser tries to stay close. About 20% in size. So if the home was 2,000 square feet, I'm looking at like 1,750, 1,800 to 2,200, 2,300.
Right.
And then you adjust for footage, you adjust for bedrooms, bathrooms, pool, no pool,
Condition.
things like, yeah, condition.
Floor, carpet, kitchen remodels.
Condition is pretty unique to interpret.
Right.
So you look at the comparables.
And you might not know that until you're walking the house, right? So when you do that research at home and you walk into the house, you come over to my house, that number that you had in your head may change
It might change. It
if
might
you see the
change.
condition.
Because you've seen the comparables, because you've looked at the data that was available, so you've interpreted the comparables, and by interpreting them, you're seeing some comparables are a little bit what I would call tired.
Right.
They have a 15-year-old roof, 15-year-old AC, they haven't been painted in 13 years, the carpet needs to be changed, it needs
Right.
a full, it just needs refreshment.
Yeah.
And then you have homes that I would say are like the neighborhood. So 80% of the homes are pretty similar. The roofs are 5 to 8 years old.
Yeah.
They don't look bad, they're just not super updated. That's like traditional.
Yeah.
And then you have almost like the fully remodeled HGTV type houses.
Yeah.
Where
That one
somebody's-
person that's.
Somebody's
yeah.
gone in and improved it and made it almost look like new construction when it's not new construction.
Right.
So that would be high retail. The tired house is low retail. Most homes fall somewhere in the middle.
Right, right. So there's always those outliers on either end, right?
Correct, correct. If you've done a lot of improvements, you're probably going to be high retail.
Right. And some people over-improve for their neighborhood, which could be an issue in
And that's when the
pricing.
comparables stop you from
Yeah.
being able to get that. So, very often we tell people you spend $10,000, you want to be able to get a return of around $13,000.
Right.
14,000, like $1.50 for every dollar. Current market conditions are pretty flat, if not a little bit of a buyer market.
Yeah, I'm seeing more of a buyer market.
So you don't want to overspend. You probably don't want to spend too much at all. You just want to make your home similar to the neighborhood, at
Right.
least. And you want to make it financeable, of course. So nothing would stop the loan.
Right. So if you have like poly pipes or something. we
Something
might-
that would
yeah.
stop insurance, stops the
Yeah.
loan, right?
Yeah.
So those are really important to think about. But that's things that someone with our experience can interpret. Our job is to reflect that to the seller so we can describe to them why we think what's going to happen will happen.
Right.
So I arrived at the house. I pulled my comparables. I've done a report. Redfin has a beautiful report
Right.
that's easy to
You come in with your fancy folder.
it's easy to look at, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very easy to look at. So what I do is I arrive at the house, seller gives me a tour, like if I was gonna buy the house. It takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing the house like a customer would. So then I ask if we can sit somewhere together for a little while so I can explain our process, our product, our people, and the data that I've recovered for the house.
Right.
So the first thing I do is I use a product called the Prezi, which is kind of like my guide path to share with the seller what we're all about.
Right, what steps we're
How do
gonna
we do what
take.
we do? Yeah.
We're gonna go
And-
from this day to your closing day
Correct.
and beyond.
Correct. And this is to get the house saleable, what it might look like. The first thing is the goals and the timeline. We need to build a strategy
Right,
to give the seller a successful transition.
right. You need
So-
to know where the seller's going and why.
When do they got to get there?
Yeah, are they building a new house? Do we have like a,
Do they need to delay it a little bit?
Right.
Or do they want it to go a little bit faster? Or do they want it to be just like what the market's turning?
right,
So we'll figure that out. They'll teach us that.
Right.
If we don't already know that.
right, sometimes we
We
do,
made our
but,
phone call before.
right,
So we look at the goals and the timeline, we look at condition versus price. Everything is condition versus price. Buyers are comparing your home to other homes that they believe are similar.
Right.
For whatever reason. And they're trying to interpret price.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna do the same thing. Now, we're a little bit unique because we have an ability to see some data that some other people cannot see
Right,
or don't know how to see.
right. Or don't know how to interpret it, and you're gonna do that for them.
Correct. So I call it the pricing triangle. And what it does for us is it explains to the seller, if you price very low, there's a lot of people at the bottom of a triangle because it's a very wide portion.
Right,
You will probably sell quicker, absolutely. You may or may not sell at your full potential. You may sell at your full potential, but you might not. Most people are nervous about underpricing.
right.
They're just nervous. They want to kind of just be like normal.
Right, because if you underprice, somebody's gonna make an offer maybe even lower, or the opposite could
Or
happen.
you
We
get
can
2 or 3 offers.
Right, and then boost that up to where you
And
want
they
it to
compete
be. But
against each other.
it's a gamble, it's a
Yeah,
risk, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I've had very much success going both directions.
Right,
Sometimes it's hard to know which way it would work.
yeah,
If you price at the top of the triangle, that is what we would call overpricing or aggressive pricing. Usually what happens with that is customers go online, go on the portals, redfin.com, whatever other portal they like to use, and they will look at your house, and because they are able to experience a lot of properties for sale, they interpret that your house is a little bit high.
right.
So what do? They save it.
They save it, they're gonna
Make it a
follow
heart, a light bulb, make it a favorite, follow it, whatever that portal does.
it. Yeah,
Do they come experience your house? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
Usually not.
Usually not.
But they save it. If you
and they're
price,
saving it to watch for a price reduction, right?
looking for a notification or a
Is
change.
it gonna go pending, is it gonna go down in price, and then maybe when it gets to this point, I'll go see it,
Yeah, they're waiting for a signal.
yeah,
So most homes, for me, we price kind of in the middle to a little bit over the middle, depending on price versus condition, depending on
Right.
the condition of the house.
of course,
But here's the beauty of what we do. 3 or 4 weeks, we will go in and we can see how many people looked at your house on the computer. Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, Trulia, the MLS, other agent websites
Right.
that people barely go to. We can see that a home like yours has had 1,500 views
right.
in 3 weeks.
Now, if that home had 1,500 views in 3 weeks, but we only had 2 or 3 showings, what does that signal to you as a listing agent?
It usually signals a strategy change is needed. Most of the time in the current market, it's price.
Right,
Sometimes it can be access. If you have an Airbnb
oh, yeah.
and it's
I
only
have a few of
available
those, yeah.
2.5 weeks out of a 30-day cycle, you are slowing down the process. So you have to be able to interpret that.
Right, if they can't
Because
get
of lack
in to
of
experience
access.
it, they're
Lack
not
of
going
access,
to.
yeah.
But a home that's traditionally
Available.
available all the time, right? and nobody's coming to see it, but they're looking at it online. They're getting a ton of views. Most
Yeah.
likely it's price.
Yeah, and the key is, I tell people, is you have to have views to show the marketing is working.
Right,
You have to have likes to show people like the product.
right.
So 1,500 views, how many likes would you probably have if it was a normal listing? Probably have around 10 to 12%.
Okay.
So imagine
100 to
200
150.
Yeah, 150, 200.
Yeah.
People save the house for whatever reason. Some might be the seller. Some might be neighbors in the neighborhood. If this house sells, I'll sell mine too.
Right, right.
But that's the bucket, the buyer's in that bucket.
Yeah.
Because they're watching the house.
Yeah.
Now, how many people out of that 150 to 200 would probably come to the house? Usually it runs around 7 to 9%, give or
Okay.
take a little bit. Those are pre-approved, proof of funds, ready to go.
So 15.
So 12, 14, 15 people
Mm-hmm.
in a 3-week period should be ready to go
That's pretty average.
and should have come to experience the house.
Okay.
So if you're getting 2 showings in 3.5 weeks, that's when you want to reflect that against what I call the SMART chart
Yeah.
and the comparables. Because if you have a $2 million listing, 2 showings in 3 weeks might be normal.
Well, yeah, because
It
how many
might be.
people are in that price? I see the same thing with 55 and older, right? Because we
It's
wipe out a lot of the
The buyer
population.
pool is smaller.
Yeah.
The buyer pool
I
is
don't want to say
smaller.
wipe them out, but we pretty much, wipe them out.
Instead of having 100 potential buyers, because it's open to everyone, if it's restricted to 55 and up,
Right,
then you might have a bucket of 40 buyers
right.
instead of 100.
So if we look at our average price point, let's say between, let's keep it simple, 400 to 600,000, normal
Pretty
house.
traditional.
Right? Just
A big bucket.
big bucket,
A
right?
big
So
bucket.
a lot of people can afford that. 400,000, we might be at that FHA first-time home
You should
buyer.
have 10 to 15 showings in the 3 weeks.
Yeah,
If you don't, why not?
right, something's
So-
going on.
So that's how we interpret that part. The next part is our service. Our level of service is full service.
Right.
It's never been anything different. We are available basically 24 hours a day. This is what we do all day, every day.
Every day.
So-
Vacations, doesn't matter, right?
We are available for our people, and our level of service is very high.
Yeah, we were in Rome together. We had our
Yeah.
computers, we're working.
We were working, so never consider the level of service being anything different
Right.
than full service. As you prepare to go for sale, a couple things that you should know with Redfin with us is that we handle all of the high resolution photography, professional photographers, not our iPhone, not our iPad.
Yeah.
Toilet seats are down, lights are on. We can make it sunny if it's cloudy, but we can't change the house.
Right, right, right.
can't
Nothing's
change
in
the
the
grass.
house. Yeah,
The house is that way that it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it looks bright, crisp, it emanates very well.
right.
So we handle the photography, we do the Matterport.
And the
which is-
photography, all that's no cost to our sellers, right?
That's part of our
all.
product.
Yeah,
It's part of our product.
Yep.
You don't pay for that.
Right.
It's just inherent in our fee.
right.
3D imaging is the Matterport. The Matterport is spectacular
I love
because
it.
it is the online open house.
Yeah.
Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So if you don't know what a Matterport is, when you see a house online and you click on their 3D tour and you get to click on those circles and actually walk through the home. And then you know
Correct.
the layout, because when you're just looking at photos of a property, you
hard to
may
feel the
not
flow.
know, is it a split floor plan? Is the primary bedroom right next to the kids' bedroom? I might not want to be there because my kids are older. But if my kids are young, I might want them all close together.
Yeah. So you
So
get
you
to
could
experience the
experience it.
flow.
Yeah.
Our 3D, as you know, is a little bit enhanced. We have the dollhouse. You can stand on the roof of the house and look down, projecting into the floor plan.
And you can take
see
measurements,
how
right?
it feels. You can do measurements. Also, our photographers have been experimenting with some new Matterport products that allow you to make furnishings disappear.
Yeah,
So it's not on every product yet. Still testing some of that.
right.
That is quite interesting because it allows you to take a room that has furnishings and make it look like it has nothing.
Yeah, and then you can really see how your stuff, your furniture may or may not work in the
Yeah.
house.
Now, we do laser measurements when we list houses.
Yeah.
Some people don't. We do, but the Matterport, like you said, allows measurements.
Yeah.
So if somebody said, will my sofa fit in there? They could measure their sofa
Right.
and then measure the size in the Matterport.
Yeah.
The key for us is to help the buyer qualify the house and to get emotionally connected to the house.
Yeah.
If the buyer comes to experience our house, we want that buyer to know everything about the house before they come, because we want them to be sincere.
Right, and we want to, right, and be realistic with our photos. What you see is what you get, right?
Correct.
Because sometimes
It's
we go
different.
into a listing and we're like,
Photos
wow.
of 3 years ago,
Yeah.
before they rented it.
Yeah, something went wrong. It's like online dating and you don't know who's going to show up, right?
Yeah,
You're like,
we do not
the
want
photo,
you to
we're
be
not,
catfished.
right, we're not catfishing anybody. This is the real deal. Our photos are real.
Yeah. So I tell people, I think the Matterport and the photos are extremely important, because when a customer comes to look at your house, they know the house.
Yeah,
They're coming to confirm that what they believe is true is indeed true.
right.
They may not know the neighborhood yet.
Right.
They may not know where the supermarket is in relation to the neighborhood or the school, but that's part of why they come.
Yeah.
But we don't want them to come to the house and act like they've never seen it before. We want that emotional connection. So
Right.
the Matterport is extremely valuable. We love the Matterport. We also do some other tracking on the listings. We do Facebook ads. We do all this
Yeah.
portfolio of marketing stuff, and we can share all of that. Negotiation and closing. That is an important part that people don't really talk about at a listing appointment.
So much goes into negotiating,
What
because
kind-
it's not just the first offer we're negotiating.
no.
We're negotiating throughout.
Yeah, through the whole process, and we want the seller to know, what is the contract we're using?
Yeah.
Why are we using the FAR bar as is 7XG, whatever it is, at this time of year?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Because it says as is, sellers think that nobody's going to ask for repairs. Well, I'm selling it as is.
Yeah, and you are.
You are.
You don't promise.
You don't have to. We're not promising anything.
We don't promise in the
But-
contract to do anything for the buyer.
Yeah.
But the buyer does have two protections built into the contract, naturally built in. The first one is a home inspection.
Yeah.
That it is what they think it is. There's no surprises, perhaps.
Right.
And the appraisal, that it can sell for what they're going to pay
Right.
on the contract price, that they get a loan for that amount. Or not really a loan for that amount, but it appraises at that contract price. You know, in the last couple of years, in the old days, cash buyers did not do appraisals.
Right. Some are now.
Today, I'm seeing appraisals for cash buyers because they're selling property somewhere else and they're moving their funds from one to number two. So they're very, they want to be cautious about not
Plus,
overpaying.
the market is different. So a few years ago, you couldn't do an appraisal contingency because you wouldn't have gotten the home.
Yeah.
So if
now-
you were a cash, but now, yeah, you're paying cash. Nothing's going to fall apart with financing, but they still want to know that they're not overpaying for the purchase.
They want just a second opinion.
Yeah.
To make sure it's falling in the right box.
So those negotiations, so the first negotiation is the offer, right?
Offer.
So somebody sends you
it
an
under
offer and you look at the offer and you're gonna review it with the seller, but when you review it, you're gonna go through all the terms of the contract. It's not just the purchase price.
Price and terms.
Yeah.
Terms can be as important, sometimes more
Sometimes
than
more
price.
important, right?
More important than
So
price.
terms could be the close date, the amount of days for the inspection contingency, because
Long
the
period.
buyer can walk away during that inspection contingency for any reason. They don't have to
They can
give us a
just
reason.
Change their